He humiliated me. Then my revenge backfired, betrayal and redemption. The silence after his words hit me like a physical blow, betrayal so profound it echoed through 20 years of friendship. Zach, my best friend, the brother I never had just declared me unworthy of celebrating his success. But what he didn't know was that the seeds of my own success were already sprouting, and the week that followed would change everything. It was a bitter victory, one that came with a twisted apology, and now I am left wondering, did I handle this right? So, Zach, my best friend of over 20 years, decided to throw a massive party to celebrate his latest business triumph. If you told me even 6 months prior that he'd celebrate this victory without me by his side, I would have scoffed in disbelief. But that's precisely what unfolded, leaving me reeling. To this day, I struggle to understand the twisted path that led us here. To give you some background, Zach had always been the ambitious one, forever the hustler, constantly chasing the next big thing. He eventually settled on flipping houses, and eventually onto something much bigger. My job, on the other hand, was, well, let's just say it wasn't exactly glamorous, but I was always there for him, lending an ear to his wild ideas, covering for him when he needed it most. It's what friends do, right? Fast forward to about 6 months ago, Zach landed a massive real estate deal, a partnership with developers interested in building a luxury condo complex downtown. It was huge. I remember the gleam in his eye when he told me, "Tom, this is it. This is the deal that changes everything." I clapped him on the back, genuinely thrilled. "That's awesome, Zach. You've been working your tail off for this for so long. You deserve it." He gave me this wide, grateful grin. "I wouldn't have made it here without you, Tom. You've always had my back." "Of course, man," I said, feeling a surge of pride. "We're a team, always have been." It felt like a truly significant moment, even though my contribution had been mostly limited to offering support. But apparently, I had been fundamentally wrong about that. A few weeks later, Zach excitedly told me he was throwing a huge party to celebrate the deal. Naturally, I was pumped, both for him and for the chance to share in his joy. Like, catered dinner, top shelf everything, and anyone is going to be there. "You're still coming, right?" "Absolutely, I'm pumped for it." But as I said those words, I saw a strange, unsettling flicker in his eyes. "Yeah, well, keep it low-key. All right, this is a pretty big deal. There will be some high-profile people there, and I want everything to be well." He trailed off, his tone laced with an unspoken judgment. "Zach, come on. I'm not going to embarrass you," I replied, a knot forming in my stomach. He forced a smile. Yeah, of course. Just make sure you're on your best behavior." It felt like a slap in the face. I tried to brush it off, chalking it up to his understandable excitement. Zach had worked his ass off to get where he was. If he was a little on edge, I could understand that, right? But a seed of doubt had been planted, a nagging feeling that he wasn't seeing me as his equal anymore. Then, a text message came, a digital dagger that twisted in my gut. "Hey man, I think it's best if you sit this one out." I stared at my phone, reading and rereading the message, desperately trying to find a different interpretation. Cutting me out after everything, I called him immediately, my heart pounding in my chest. He picked up, his voice casual, almost dismissive. "Hey, what's going on?" "Zach, what do you mean? Sit this one out," I demanded, struggling to keep the anger from boiling over. "Look, Tom, it's nothing personal. I just had to make some cuts to the guest list. There are a lot of big names coming. People who could really help expand my business. I have to be strategic here." "Strategic," I echoed, barely able to believe what I was hearing. "I thought this was a celebration, Zach. I thought we were a team." He said quickly, his voice strained, almost irritated. "But look, this isn't just some party. All right, it's a networking opportunity for me. These people, they expect a certain crowd. I have to be mindful of that." "So what? I don't make the cut?" I asked, my voice tight with suppressed rage. "It's not like that," he replied defensively. You wouldn't really get much out of it anyway. Besides, this is business." That was the last straw. I guess I was wrong about us then. There was a long, awkward pause. Then, he said, "Tom, don't make this a big deal, okay? It's just one night." But it wasn't just one night. It was the culmination of years of unwavering support, loyalty, and friendship. I hung up without saying another word, the betrayal searing through me. I saw the social media posts from mutual friends, buzzing with excitement about Zach's exclusive party. I had cleared my schedule, bought a new suit. Now, I was sitting at home, feeling like a complete idiot. I couldn't stop replaying his dismissive words, the way he treated me like a stranger, an embarrassment. Something inside me snapped. I had put off starting my own business for years, always telling myself it was too risky, the timing wasn't right. But now, I desperately wanted to prove that I wasn't just some safe, predictable 9-to-5 guy in Zach's world. I was more than that, even if he didn't see it. So I did it. I registered my business, reached out to all contacts. Before I knew it, I had a handful of clients lined up, enough to keep me busy. And honestly, It felt incredible. I was finally doing something for myself. I later heard snippets about Zach's party, champagne towers, catered dinner, but I also heard the vibe was off. A friend said Zach was tense all night, constantly working the room, his eyes darting around as if searching for someone, or perhaps something, he couldn't find. A few weeks later, things took an unexpected turn. My business was gaining traction, attracting clients looking for help with their finances. It was growing faster than I had ever anticipated. Then, one evening, I got a message from Zach's wife, Carol. We weren't particularly close, but we'd always gotten along. She sounded hesitant as she asked if we could meet up. When we sat down at a local coffee shop, she got straight to the point. Tom, I know things are strained between you and Zach, but he's going through a lot right now. I raised an eyebrow, unsure where this was going. What do you mean? She took a deep breath. His big deal, the one he threw the party for, it fell apart. The investors pulled out. He's been scrambling to keep things together. It's bad, really bad. I sat there, a complicated mix of emotions swirling within me. Part of me felt vindicated, a dark satisfaction seeing his arrogance crumble. But another part felt conflicted, or at least used. Why are you telling me this? I asked finally. She looked down, playing with her coffee cup. He doesn't know I'm here, but I can tell he regrets how he treated you. He just doesn't know how to say it. A few days later, I got a message from Zach himself. Can we talk? I could really use your advice. I debated ignoring it. After all, he had made it crystal clear that I wasn't important enough to be in his world. But curiosity, and perhaps a flicker of lingering loyalty, won out. When we sat down, Zach was a shadow of his former self. All the swagger and confidence were gone, replaced by a desperate vulnerability. Thanks for coming, Tom, he said, barely able to meet my eyes. I know I messed up. I don't deserve any favors from you. He then laid it all out, explaining how the investors had backed out, leaving him with a massive financial hole. He was struggling to keep his other projects afloat and had no idea where to turn. I felt a strange mix of sympathy and satisfaction. He'd always thought he was above everyone else, that his hustle set him apart. And now, here he was, asking for help from the very person he deemed unworthy to stand beside him. Zach, I said, keeping my tone steady, you really hurt me. After all those years, like I wasn't good enough to be around your new crowd. Do you realize how that felt? He swallowed hard, nodding slowly. I know, and I can't even begin to tell you how sorry I am. I got caught up in this idea of what success was supposed to look like. I thought if I just had the right people around me, I'd finally be where I wanted to be. But all I did was push away the people who actually cared. I looked at him for a long moment, trying to assess if he was truly sincere. Zach, you have to understand, it's not just about the apology. It's about respect. Respect isn't something you demand from people who are at your level or whatever you were chasing. It's something you earn by showing up, being loyal, and valuing people beyond what they can do for you. You're right, he mumbled. I thought that night would be the pinnacle of everything I've worked for. But instead, it just made me see how empty it all was. I mean, when things started falling apart, I realized no one at that party would lift a finger to help. The only person I could think to turn to was you, and I had already screwed that up. A part of me felt sorry for him, but I didn't want to make this easy. You threw away a lot for a night of validation, Zach. You had everything you needed all along, but you couldn't see it. Now you're in trouble, hoping the people you discarded will be there to pull you out. He looked away, visibly embarrassed. I know, and I deserve every bit of this, but I don't need money, Tom. I need advice. I'm drowning here. I don't know what else to do. Part of me wanted to tell him to handle it himself, to leave him to the consequences of his actions. But another part of me, perhaps a foolish part, wanted to help. Maybe it was the lingering years of friendship. All right, Zach, I said slowly, I'll help you, but it's on my terms. If you're really serious about fixing things, you're going to do it the right way. No shortcuts, no flashy projects. You'll start small, humble, and you'll focus on building something real. Got it? He replied instantly, desperation etched on his face. Whatever it takes, I'll do anything. And one more thing, I added, you need to make amends. You need to reach out to the people you ignored or treated like they didn't matter. You need to own up to what you did. That's the first step to actually getting respect, not just for yourself, but for the people around you. You're right, I'll do it. I owed that to a lot of people. Over the next few months, Zach did exactly that. He focused on smaller projects he could handle, working diligently, and showing genuine remorse or his past behavior. He didn't complain once, and I could see a change in him, a real humility that hadn't been there before. One afternoon, Zach invited me to lunch. As we sat down at a booth in our old favorite diner, the one we used to go to in our early 20s, he looked genuinely contrite. Tom, I don't think I've ever properly thanked you for everything you've done. Not just now, but over the years. You've always been there for me, even when I didn't deserve it. I shrugged, feeling a mix of satisfaction and unease. That's what friends do. But I need you to realize something. You can't keep taking people for granted. Respect has to be mutual. If you value people, you don't just show up when you need something. You show up all the time. He nodded, taking it in. I understand that now. I really do. And I know that things between us might never go back to the way they were. I've accepted that. But I hope we can rebuild something new. I studied him carefully. I think we can. But it'll take time. And you'll have to keep proving that you mean it. He smiled, a genuine, relieved smile. Fair enough. I'll take whatever time it takes. As Zach worked on mending his broken relationships and rebuilding his business, gaining clients by word of mouth and focusing on genuine value, my own business continued to thrive. I was doing what I loved, and it felt amazing to be building something from the ground up, especially something that was genuinely helping people. Then, one day, I received a call from the Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce. They were informing me that I had been nominated for an award honoring local business leaders who had positively impacted the community. The night of the awards ceremony, as I walked into the event hall, I spotted Zach and Caroline among the guests. They were sitting with a group of people that they had clearly gotten close to through their own rebuilding journey. Zach caught my eye and gave me a nod, a silent gesture of support. Feeling a sense of peace settle over me, I took my seat. When they called my name, I stepped up to the podium, looking out over the crowd. I hadn't prepared a speech, but the words flowed from my heart. I've spent a lot of time over the past few years thinking about what success really means. I began, my voice steady. For a long time, I thought it was about personal achievement, about climbing a ladder and reaching the top. But what I've come to realize is that true success isn't about standing above others. It's about building something that lasts beyond yourself. I paused, glancing at Zach, who gave me an encouraging smile. And it's about the people who support you, challenge you, and make you better. I've been incredibly lucky to have those people in my life, and I hope to continue building something that helps others as much as they've helped me. As I finished, the room filled with applause, and I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This wasn't just a moment for me. It was a culmination for everything I had worked for, all the lessons I had learned, and the people who had been there for me every step of the way. After the ceremony, Zach approached me, his face full of admiration. That was powerful. I think I finally understand what you were trying to tell me all along. I shrugged, trying to downplay the emotion. Sometimes it just takes a little time to see the bigger picture. We shared a quiet moment, both of us reflecting on everything that had happened. Our friendship wasn't what it once was, but it had grown into something more honest, more resilient. As we walked out of the event hall together, I felt a profound sense of closure. Before we parted ways, Zach reached out and gave me a firm handshake, pulling me into a quick hug. Thank you, Tom, for everything. Feeling a strange mix of emotions, I simply said, anytime. Just remember what really matters. I won't forget, not again. And as I walked away that night, I felt lighter than I had in years. I had gained something far more valuable than wealth or status, sense of purpose, a loyal network, and understanding that true success isn't a solo climb. It's something you build with the people who believe in you by your side. But it wasn't the kind of peace you get from mending something. Zach and I had rebuilt a bridge, but in some ways, it felt stronger. He saw me now as an equal, someone who had stepped out from behind him to build something entirely on my own terms. One afternoon, Zach called and invited me to a diners we used to go to in our early 20s. The call was unexpected. I was intrigued and showed up to find him already sitting in a booth, looking down at a folder with a pensive expression. When he saw me, he immediately stood up to greet me. Thanks for coming, Tom. Anytime, I replied, looking him over. You all right? Taking a breath before handing me the folder. He sat down again, indicating with his head that I should do the same. Tom, I've been thinking a lot about what you said about community, about building something that lasts. Zach started. I realized I had always chased personal gain, but I want to create something that benefits others too. Curious, I opened the folder. What's this? I asked as I skimmed the contents. What I found was a project proposal that was ambitious and well thought out. Tutoring and career guidance. I want to call it The Hub, he said, his voice soft, almost vulnerable. A place where kids can learn about business, finances, creativity. Things I never really had access to growing up. I thought maybe, if you'd be interested, we could do this together. I sat back, surprised and impressed that this was someone who had learned to look beyond his own ambitions. Someone who wanted to give back. Zach, I said, I'd be honored to work on this with you. A genuine smile spread across his face, and a weight seemed to have been lifted from his shoulders. As we started to discuss the details, the ideas flowed naturally between us. We envisioned classes on financial literacy, coding workshops, art programs, and life skills that didn't get taught in school. It was exciting, and it felt purposeful in a way that I hadn't expected. As months turned into a year, we both dedicated our time and efforts to this project. With some funding from local businesses and support from the community, we transformed an old unused warehouse into a vibrant, welcoming space for young people and families. Steel City Finances offered free workshops there, and Zach brought in mentors from various fields to guide the kids, creating a network of support that went beyond ourselves. One Friday evening, As we were wrapping up after a busy day of activities, Zach called me over to speak with him. Tom, can I say something? I raised an eyebrow, surprised by his nervous tone. You don't have to ask. He cleared his throat. This is the proudest I've ever been. Not of any deal or any business transaction, just this. I felt a lump in my throat, touched by the sincerity in his words. Zach, you don't owe me anything. This is something we both needed. I stopped and swallowed hard. I'm just glad we're doing it together. He nodded, his eyes glassy. Me too. At that moment, I realized that our friendship had come full circle, from a rocky start filled with betrayal and pride to a future that wasn't just about us, but about others. A few weeks later, we held a grand opening ceremony for the expanded facilities at the hub. Community members poured in, eager to see the new space and participate in the activities. Even some city officials came to show their support. Zach and I stood on stage, side by side, as we addressed the crowd. As I looked out at the audience, I spotted people from every phase of our lives, from old high school friends to colleagues and mentors who had guided us along the way. Caroline stood beside Zach's parents, beaming with pride, and my parents were there too, their faces lit up with joy. When it was Zach's turn to speak, he stepped up to the microphone, clearly moved by the occasion. I spent a lot of years chasing something that I thought would make me happy, Zach said, a far cry from who he was a few years prior. I thought success was about money, about proving myself. But what I didn't realize was that the true measure of success is what you give to the people around you. That's something my friend Tom taught me. I felt a deep sense of pride welling up inside me as I heard his words and the truth in his tone. Thank you, Tom, for never giving up on me, even when I didn't deserve it. Zach continued, you taught me what it means to be a friend, to be a partner, and to build something bigger than ourselves. As he finished, the room erupted in applause, and I couldn't help but feel a wave of gratitude. We both come a long way, both having made mistakes, and finding redemption in the most unexpected places. After the speeches, Zach and I stood by the entrance, greeting people as they left and thanking them for their support. We did it, man, Zach said, holding out his hand. I shook his hand firmly. Yeah, we did. As we stood there in the quiet, empty hall, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace and fulfillment, knowing we had built something together that was finally bigger than either of us. In the end, I realized that Zach's apology had been just the beginning. True friendship isn't about avoiding mistakes. It's about learning from them and growing together. And despite all the ups and downs, our friendship had survived, stronger and more meaningful than ever before, even when we didn't deserve it. Now, after all this, I can't help but wonder if I handled this whole situation correctly. Did I forgive too easily? Was I right to help him, even after he hurt me so deeply? Looking back, was there anything I could have done differently? What would you have done?